Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Pathfinder Kingmaker. I am Ryan, also known as thelovebat, and we are here once again to kind of make do with what we've got with our situation here. Last session, we were able to go ahead and take care of the dastardly bandits that were sort of troubling our dear fellows here at the Oleg's trading post, and Oleg and his wife, Svetlana, who I had trouble pronouncing last time. He helped them out a little bit by clearing the bandits from the Stag Lord, the dastardly Stag Lord, away from their trading post and freeing them from that sort of oppression that the Stag Lord thinks that they can just do whatever the heck that they want, and well, we were having none of it. And so we helped him. He found some things around here as far as some extra loot from the bandits, and those just laying around in the trading post. We, kind of got some extra goods in here in our inventory, and we also found some extra little goodies with some little animal kind of companions that give some minor bonuses. They're from some sort of free DLC type content that doesn't really break the balance of the game, but it's a nice little addition. But I like some of the sorts of small semi-magic items that they add in that are just nice and flavorful. So we have a couple of animal companions. We also found this cool little belt for Valerie. And then right before we left off last time, we also ended up encountering the sort of Guardian of the Bloom, Guardian of the Forest nearby. That's just sort of west-southwest of Oleg's trading post. And, well, needless to say, they had some interesting things to say. The Stag Lord is, or someone associated with the Stag Lord is causing all the fog and all this other stuff that's going on these days over here. And the Guardian of the Bloom wants us to go ahead and help take care of that, and it's just one more reason for us to go after the Stag Lord, in addition to what Jamon the Eldori wants us to do, which is the person who kind of sort of hired and contracted us, I guess, to clear out this region of the Stag Lord and his influence, so that way we can become the Baron of these lands. So that's just kind of the summation of what's going on up to this point, and now we're at a point where we're in some more kind of dialogue type sections, you could say. We have just our main character here that's sort of in this in these portraits here. That means that you're just kind of going solo right now. You can talk to people, you can initiate dialogues, and just get to know more about people. Sometimes you can learn some interesting information. Some of it's not all that important, but some of it may come up a little bit later, I guess. And there might occasionally be some like NPC side quests or subplots that you might be able to explore, and you can start talking to people now and kind of get to know more later as things progress. So we'll talk to Svetlana first. Good day. I hope you're feeling all right after that battle. I can't thank you enough for what you've done. I definitely don't want to waste your time. But if you have a moment, I have a request. Well, what did you want to ask me then? And Svetlana lowers her head. This is a very personal request, and maybe not important enough for your time. I'll completely understand if you say no. But the first time the Stag Lord's thugs came here demanding money, they also took my wedding ring. Just tore it off my hand. It's just a trinket, really, but it meant so much to me. Well, that's understandable. It's a very, very, very valuable personal object. And, I mean, anyone who's ever been married probably knows that, anyone who's been married probably knows how valuable, like, the sentimental items are to that, so. I remember every moment of the day. Oleg came to me, that ring in hand, to ask if I'd marry him. I was standing in a fancy dress on the stairs of my father's home, fearing that I'd misheard something, or that I'd say something stupid and everyone around me would laugh. And then she interrupts herself, shaking her head gently. If you happen to find my ring among the bandits' possessions, please bring it back to me. It's easy to recognize. My name is engraved inside the band. Svetlana drops her eyes, lowering her voice. There is one more thing. Among the bandits, there's a dark-haired woman who wields dual axes. She's not bad in a fight. In fact, she can be extremely dangerous and cruel. But please, I beg you, show her mercy if you have the chance. Well, I'd be happy to be able to help you. I'm not sure if, like, if someone's trying to kill us, it's going to be kind of hard to, take her down non-lethally, but if we can, we'll try and do that. I am so grateful for your help! She's so grateful. Alrighty. Well, we'll do our best to get her ring back and to try and spare this person that I assume probably has some relation to her. I don't know, maybe it's like a friend that was kidnapped by the Stag Lord and forced to work with them or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but eventually we'll probably figure out more about that. So tell me about yourself then. How did you and your husband find the courage to establish a trading post here in the Stolen Lands? It was Oleg's idea, though I supported him in it. We didn't realize how dangerous it was here, of course. In Rostov, everyone respects the Sword Lords, and everyone's accustomed to relying on them. Even the mention of someone like Lady Jamandi could be enough to fend off a street thug or some other trouble. I could maybe even work in some places here. It could maybe even work in some places here, but not with the Stag Lord's men. Oh, well. I guess it's the problem with some people is that it's the bandits that hold power and influence are the ones that you kind of worry about, because then it's not just dumb criminals in action, it's people that are charismatic or have a way of influencing people to get them to sort of fight blindly for them. So, or the people that cannot be, swayed, away from what their leader tells them to do. So what can you tell me about the Stag Lord, then? He's not just some average bandit, as I thought. If no one puts a stop to him, he'll turn the Stolen Lands into his personal kingdom, a kingdom of fear and oppression. And of course, we're going to be kind of here to stop that, I would hope. And hopefully, if we become Baron of the Stolen Lands, then, then hopefully we'll be able to turn that around and make it to where that's not a thing anymore. It would be a kingdom of lawlessness. Once I've dealt with the Stag Lord, your life will definitely improve, lady. I can't thank you enough for the hope you've given me. But please, be careful. The Stag Lord is extremely dangerous. Well, extremely dangerous bandits are a Paladin's speciality, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would probably put it. Alright, well, I have to go. Farewell, for now. Okay, so we learned a bit more about Svetlana. She wants us to go find a ring, and if we end up fighting more of the Stag Lord's bandits, then we'll have to spare someone dual-wielding axes, I think. So we'll see how that turns out. So we have a Noriel Knight 8 Eyes here. So let's go and talk to her. I think this is another sort of a side DLC character. I can't remember if she's part of some DLC or not, but she's more of like a side character, I believe. Alright, the elf looks straight at you through the tangled hair falling over her face. Hey, you're an adventurer, right? Seeking your fortune in the Stolen Lands? You aren't the only one of your kind here. Take my advice. Keep your eyes open and watch your back. Sometimes the ones who call themselves your friends are more dangerous than your enemies. Judging by the elf's voice, it's obvious that she started the day with a jug of wine. You don't want to get too heavy into the drink, my dear. Alcoholism is not good for your health. Oh, who are you, then? The elf grunts. Noriel 8 Eyes. Once upon a time, I was famous throughout Absalom. Noriel Eight Eyes of the Reckless Six. Well, glory passes quickly. A few miserable decades later, and no one recognizes you on the street anymore. What a shame. Well, I mean, it's... Well, you don't need to go and play yourself down. You just got to turn it around, that's all. But we'll just talk to her a bit and kind of ask her more about what she's doing here and all that. I sit here waiting for adventurers who are in need of help. We may be sitting here in a backwoods tavern, but in Absalom I have a lot of friends who are eager to make a few coins. They have brave hearts, but shallow pockets. A little gold would be a welcome change for them. I can send them a message, and they will come from Absalom through a portal. If you're interested, just give me a sign, and we'll arrange everything right away. Also, I can summon the tutors from the Pathfinder Society, who can retrain you and your companions. They're quite willing to do this for free, the first 3 times you request their services. After that, the price for retraining will gradually increase. Such is their way of doing business with all new clients. Well, so you can kind of hire NPC companions to join your party, perhaps if you... they're sort of like generic, NPC kind of companions. You can have them join your party if you aren't really satisfied with the NPCs that the game gives you to join your party. If you want maybe someone that's a certain class or certain archetype that fills in a need in the party that you would want, or anything of that nature, then you can do that. Or if you just if you don't really like any of the companions and you just want to go solo but with a full party to help you in combat, then I guess that's another thing you can do. So, alright, so why are you called Eight Eyes? Once, long ago, I could spot an enemy and pin him to the wall before he could even think of attacking. Some said I had 8 eyes and looked all around at once, though it seems I've outlived my nickname. And Noriel stretches her arm forward. Her palm trembles noticeably. I've been drinking so much lately, it's best I don't test my skills often. Oh, would you like to join me? Maybe reclaim your former glory? No. I've got enough things to do already. You'd better manage on your own. Well, that's a bit of a boring answer, don't you think? I mean, it's... what are you busy with? I mean, you're drinking, you don't look busy, you're out here in a backwater tavern. But, I mean, that's her choice, and that's probably just a decision by the developers to not give you a readily, already very experienced NPC to join you. And it'd be nice if you could go ahead and, I don't know, maybe have her join you later on when you're a higher level, maybe, but we'll see if that happens at some point. Where were you when the trading post was attacked? I was hunting. Got a little lost in the mist, which is the first time that's happened to me. I guess I should go easier on the drink. But don't you imagine I'd be scared of a good fight, if only I'd known I was missing all the action. But I see you've got everything under control. Well, thankfully, yes. Alright, just adjusting my headset here for a moment. Keeps on kind of making this little noise and stuff like that. Alright. Alright, well, let's see. A famous Pathfinder here in the middle of nowhere. Why? I am very curious. You want to know how one could exchange the life of a Pathfinder for the sorry drunken rat hole? The light in Noriel's eyes goes out as if someone had blown out a candle. You lose all your friends because of one scumbag, and then you'll understand. I was the only one to return from the final campaign of the Reckless Six, and whatever is left of me can't be called a seeker anymore. And Noriel remains silent for a long time, as if wondering if she wishes to poke the old wound. Here's the story. Our leader, Vermelt, was the best of us. Wise, brave, friends with everyone. One of those friends, Adivian Edressant, sent him a disturbing letter. He'd stumbled upon mention of some ancient books on the art of necromancy. Secrets like those are best left hidden forever. Trust me, I've seen what that kind of magic can do. The elf bites her lip. One moment, I just want to go and pause and adjust my headset real quick. Alright then, I've returned. Alright, so I just needed to adjust my headset there. It kept on making little bits of noise every time I kind of move my mouth. It kind of makes this little noise going on there. But I think I've got it solved. But hopefully I don't need to adjust it again. So, alright, so we've talked through all this here. So you've seen what that kind of magic can do, yada yada. Alright. To make a long story short, these volumes were supposedly hidden in the catacombs of Gallowspire. We decided that the books should be retrieved and kept safe by the Society, the Pathfinder Society. We gathered in a tavern, discussed the expedition, then proceeded to Yusilov. It was a normal mission, a quick and quiet recovery, and Noriel smiles bitterly. But everything turned out to be much more complicated. We barely made it through the Witchgate Forest. All those terrible living trees, undead druids, and their arches of bone. It was a miracle we managed to make it out alive. We'd chosen Renchurch to stop at. It was marked on Vervelt's map as a safe enough haven to hole up in and lick our wounds. How I wish that had been true. Vermelt was the first to perish. He was attacked by one of the monsters hiding in the stables. It tossed him about like a feather and threw him down an ancient well. His shout echoed for a long time, and I didn't hear the sound of him landing. And then... And Noriel pauses and turns away, hiding her eyes. Enough. I shouldn't have gotten into this. Who am I to stir up others' feelings with all my chatter? We'd better forget about it for now. Maybe I'll tell you more some other time, but not today. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, you can eventually, talk to her, I guess, more about it, and talk to her about all the stuff that happened, and so you can try and talk to her again, and the elf shakes her head. I have no wish to fill your sleep with nightmares. When you prove that you can stand firm in battle, that you can achieve victory without losing yourself along the way, then I will tell you of the horrors that awaited us in Renchurch. Well, I mean, we just did deal with some bandits of a very oppressive person, the Stag Lord, but I guess that's not enough for... I guess we have to go improve ourselves even more, so that's just... that's the way it goes in sort of fantasy fiction, I guess. Sometimes you have to keep on proving yourself over and over again to try and prove it to people, I guess, is maybe the way I would put it. I want to know more about the Pathfinder Society. What exactly are you interested in? What is the purpose of the society? And it is, and the game and the tabletop name of it is, Pathfinder. And the game's called Pathfinder Kingmaker, so I guess this does have some relevance, I guess, to background information of what we're doing. So what is the purpose of the society? It's a school of adventurers. We search for those who are eager to test their skills, and we educate them and give them ideas about where on Galarian they might seek their fortune. They look for forgotten knowledge, secrets, and lost artifacts. They are explorers and pathfinders. We're a sort of mutual assistance club for adventure lovers. We exchange experience, share knowledge, and keep careful records, in case it proves useful to future expeditions. And also, we publish books for thrill seekers and bored urban teenagers from wealthy families. And so I guess Galarian is sort of like, it's the entire, I guess, planet that we're on. And, maybe there's other planets that have, people on them, or different planes of existence that maybe are like a different planet of some kind. But I guess you could say that it's kind of, at least to my understanding goes, it's kind of like you have the Forgotten Realms setting in Dungeons and Dragons, which is like one sort of setting, and it's like the most popular one. And so that's kind of like one planet, you could say, and then this is Galarian, the sort of maybe equivalent of Forgotten Realms and Dungeons and Dragons as far as the prominence. But I could be wrong, so anyone can feel free to correct me on that. But for people that are more familiar with D&D, I think that's sort of like the equivalent here. Alright, so what kind of members does the Pathfinder Society have? All sorts of adventurers. We have representatives from all races, religions, and beliefs. The Grand Lodge is in Absalom, but there are many smaller lodges throughout Galarian, and the venture captains direct Pathfinders to their goals from across all the corners of the world. There are many renowned heroes in the Society, and many scoundrels as well, whose service to the Society has brought them fame. Alright, so you have to take the good with the bad, I suppose. You have heroes and scoundrels, so who does the Society support? Alright, and you mean who does it serve? No one in particular. Pathfinders try not to get involved in the quarrels of others. They serve only the spirit of adventure, and sometimes they happen to save the world. However, that doesn't mean there are no black sheep among the Seekers. Now, the scoundrels, I guess, that she mentioned earlier might be the kind. They seek fame and fortune with the Pathfinders, and even though they might be never-do-wells, they, I guess they're tolerated, I suppose, because they're useful. And we'll talk about this more later. The Society is an interesting community. There's much to tell about it. Alright, so we can go ahead and actually use the tutor services, and not only can we show how it works for anyone who's unfamiliar with the game or how it would work. There are some similar things in other games. Diablo 2, for example. I remember that has an NPC you can talk to where you can sort of realign, all of your skills and stuff like that. You reset them, and then you use all those unused points to sort of redo all of your skills and things like that, like a skill reset. So there are some other games that do this in some way if you want to sort of respec your skills into something different that maybe you figured out, oh, my build or my character isn't doing so hot, I'd like to try something else on this character without starting over from the beginning. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at this. Certainly. As promised, the first 3 times you request retraining, the Pathfinder Society tutors will do their work for free. Shall we summon them? Well, great, let's get started. Well, let me think about it. I'll just save the game, just in case. I always like to save my game all too often before I do anything that's like a major thing. So let's save the game. Talk to her again. Let's do that again. Alright. Round 2. Let's do this. And then we're just going to do our character. I think that the joinable NPC companions tend to have more skill points than what you can normally get with a created character anyway. And like Valerie, for example, starts off with a really high constitution and is reasonably good elsewhere. Same with Lindsay. It's hard to get their stat blocks just by respecking them into other things. So usually you might leave them alone for the most part, but you could. And I could go ahead and retrain them in some ways, but they lose out in some other areas, I suppose. So that's something that we can consider perhaps later. Okay, so I guess it has you going through basically everything. I'm not sure what that's all about. Maybe that's like a like I guess it's maybe like a blank portrait to separate the custom portraits from the other in-game portraits there. Alright, so let's respec her. We'll just choose the same stuff as we did before. Yeah, like, whoa, what's going on here? I guess I haven't even chosen my race yet. Yeah, I guess by default, at character creation is you like selected as humans, so it's like it should show a model there, but it doesn't. So, um, so I guess I'm gonna do my best to. I don't know why it's showing up as. Alright, so let's choose portrait. I don't know why it's already going to class. It's not allowing me to change my gender to female for some reason. Like, I don't know, maybe I have to do that at character. Maybe I'm just forgetting. Let me go ahead here. Like, I don't know, like, how that's working out. I just need to go ahead here. And I believe it was Muse Touched here that we took. I don't know why it's... let's just go heavy on the charisma this time. There, I think we can do that. Alright, so I'm just trying to figure this out here because usually you're not really, like you're given an option. I just want to see if I can change her gender here. I'm just going to pick stuff I don't really care about, I guess. Weapon finesse, all this junk. I'm a Day, I think, is the one I chose last time. Alignment still the same. Yeah, this thing is looking like it's kind of bugged out for some reason. That's awful, to be honest. You can't even complete this thing. So I guess I'm going to have to go to the mod option, I suppose. I can try it again, see if it works this time. But usually this is supposed to work. I mean, this is one of the poor things about the game is that its functionality isn't quite that great in some areas. So it's, yeah, it could definitely be better. Because you should, I believe in this screen, you should be able to choose your gender. And then in that one, you're supposed to be able to choose like your voice set on the character screen. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to skip this and just say fuck it and just go with the mod option, which I think is like Control F10, I think is the... There we are. Okay, so I'm bringing up the mod thing here. We're going to go into Respecialization, I suppose. We're not going to change alignment there. So in order to do this, you have to do 1,000 gold, I guess, to be able to respec your character. Let's see how much gold I have. Alright, so I don't even have the gold. Once I get the gold, I'll go ahead and respec her, I guess, into something that I feel might fit her better. I might just go with a bit more charisma instead of dexterity, perhaps, and do it that way. and maybe have wisdom a little bit higher, I suppose. But yeah, I was thinking of respecking her and making her slightly different. I made her this originally, and I thought I'd just be able to respec her with 8 eyes here, but apparently it's not working the way it's intended to, so I'll have to just do that later once I get the money. And the money isn't of much consequence for the most part. Early on, you certainly need a good bit of money, but I mean, it might be worth it to respec early, so we'll see how that goes. And again, one of the downsides of Pathfinder Kingmaker is not the most functional sometimes, but I still like it all the same. So let's get talking to Lindsay here, since I've been, you know, making a big fuss about the respecking options there. A halfling girl with tousled hair, wearing a dusty traveler's outfit, sits chewing the tip of her quill. Just a moment. How should I put this? Oh, I know! She scribbles something quickly in a notebook scrawled with verse, raises her eyes and gives you a bright smile. Oh, hi! Ooh. Alright. Well, now that I've got my orange juice in my system there, sipping on a bit of that. Tell me about yourself, Lindsay. What do you want to know? Where you're from? I'm from all over. Ha ha! I was actually born in Galt, in such a tiny village that it's not even on the maps. If it weren't for my teacher, I'd still be living there, milking goats, weeding turnips, swilling homebrew, having babies, and using books only as kindling. Well, I guess that's kind of an interesting way to put all that, I guess. So, who was your teacher, then? He's a true saint. He was once an important person in the capital, at the Church of Shellen, but he got in trouble with the authorities and went on a self-imposed exile to the tiniest, most god-forsaken, priestless village he could find, the one where I was born. He wanted to open a school, but the villagers wouldn't let him. You can heal us all you like, but no putting any ideas into our children's heads. It'll only distract them from their work. But he did teach me on the sly. He taught me how to read, how to write, and he gave me books, poems, legends. He was the one who told me about the Archknights of Aveston, and when I told him I was going on a journey, he gave me a magic ring so that Shellen would protect me from harm. Alright, so we know where she got that one annoying little ring from that's meant to be plot armor and keep her alive from permanent death. I don't necessarily like games that do that and give people plot armor, since it's not a movie, you know, but for the sake of the narrative and all the cutscenes and different things like that, I think the developers did that because they want to have the some of the things written and told from Lindsay's perspective, so I think that's why they did that. I haven't seen him since I ran away from home. I hope he's alright. I ask Shellen every day to grant him a long life. And new students. Alright, well, Archknights of Aveston? Who are they? Oh, you haven't heard of them? How can you be a heroine without knowing one of the most epic stories in the history of stories? No, I won't spoil anything. You should just read about them yourself. Every single chapter. Their adventures are what gave me the idea of going on a heroic quest and writing about it to begin with. And now, look at me. Here I am, on a heroic quest. Oh, so I guess she wants me to read books. Sadly, I don't know if there are really any books that I can read in-game, or there's no, I think there's a semi-codex in-game, but I'm not sure if it gives you the same kind of information that's non-essential to the game like Mass Effect does, or at least the first Mass Effect does. Alright. So, how did you become a bard? When I realized there was nothing for me at home besides more radish patches, I decided to run away. A traveling book peddler, Tessie the Quill, happened to cross our village. Well, I stuck to her like a burr and wouldn't let go until she agreed to take me as an apprentice. Together we traveled everywhere, to Ravoy and Taldor, and even Ustalav. And then I found out about the Academy of Grand Arts in Pitax, and I thought, well, I love reading stories, so I can surely learn to write them too. I enrolled on my first try, and they even gave me a scholarship. Then they expelled me. Haha, but that's okay. They had already taught me all the important stuff, and now, with Shellen's help, I can manage on my own. Alright, well, I'm wondering why it was that she got expelled, I guess. I don't know if she was up to shenanigans or things like that, but alright, so do you worship Shellen? Yes! Not to offend the other gods, but she's the most important of them all. All the other gods guard the world as it is, but only the eternal Rose, the goddess of beauty, calls us to the world as it should be. Okay, so we have another deity here. We are a paladin of Iomedae, and she really likes Shellen. So why are your clothes so messy? Lindsay waves her hand carelessly. Forget it. I can't waste money on looks. I'd rather buy books instead. In 100 years, when people are reading my works, they aren't going to ask whether the author had holes in her sleeves. I mean, I'm, maybe just, I could be mistaken, but with my powers of perception and observation, her portrait looks like she's wearing fairly decent looking and clean clothes. No holes in her sleeves. This could just be maybe an oversight by the writers not communicating to the artist that they needed to make her a bit more messy looking in her portrait, and her hair looks nice and nicely done, and like she looks a lot more clean in her portrait than she does by description. So, again, maybe I'm looking too far into it, but it does seem like they don't really match, I guess. But that's another topic entirely. Alright, let me ask you about something else. Alright, so you come from Pitax, right? Tell me about it. Oh, I love Pitax, even though they kicked me out. A joyful place. So yeah, it's yep, so it's an interesting place, as you can see in the description there. Unsavory origins, I guess. So the history of it might be mired in controversy or lots of maybe bloody events of some sort, I guess. So what is life in Pitax like? Actually, Pitax has always been one huge nest of thieves. Bandits, river pirates, smugglers, fences, card sharps. It's always been home for the likes of them. But that was before Iravetti became king. With him, a whole different life began there. Iravetti always wanted to make history, but not as another bandit with a crown. Though that's exactly what he is. Ha ha! He wanted to be glorified through the centuries as a great patron of the arts. So he built the Academy of Grand Arts, and spent lots of gold to assemble the best artists, poets, and musicians. Of course, the very best ones refused to go, but he got what he wanted in a way. If Pitax was once just a booze barn for thieves, now it's a cabaret. And so I think we learned, if I remember correctly, in our first sort of mission of the game, the opening tutorial area, I think we learned that there are, some things going on with, Pitax and Iravetti. If I'm remembering correctly anyway, the guy that was trying to frame us for things and trying to put the blame on us as being a spy, that one gnomish person. Yeah, basically, I think Pitax is one of those, again, interesting places to where it's the hive of scum and villainy. What do you know of King Iravetti? He won his crown in the game of cards, which says as much about Pitax as it does about him. He's fiendishly clever. Some cheats I know told me that from the moment he appeared, he started to pulling off such schemes that the old city masters just scratched their heads. With him in charge, gold flooded into P-tax. Flooded, I say. And also, he's incredibly, unimaginably, fantastically decadent and conceited. I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily, even though she seems excited about it. But, I guess for some people it maybe serves a purpose. Getting drunk with... Okay, getting drunk with whores at the pub. That's not Lord Irvetti's style, oh no. He aims higher, dressing up like a male Calistria with a golden codpiece. And holding a 3-week orgy with dancing on the rooftops, parades, public executions, and a contest for the best ode to the great unrivaled king. That's more like it. Okay, so we got alright, so we got pubs and orgies and contests. Oh my. So apparently orgies are more of a thing perhaps in Pathfinder. I'm not sure if that's really a thing in Dungeons and Dragons from what I understand. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, anyone who knows what this means, you know what it means, but I'm just going to gloss over that so we can move on here. He also likes singing. Ugh. And he orders his guards to make the citizens gather for his shows. May Shellen have mercy on his listeners. Oh, and may Shellen have mercy on those that are forced to watch one of his orgies. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I am just making really poor innuendos. Okay. Enough about the orgies. Let's talk about the academy. Tell me about the academy you studied at. You know, jokes aside, I'm thankful to Irvetti for building it. But he has no taste at all whatsoever. He likes his art loud, bright, grandiose, and most importantly, glorifying his Royal Highness. He kicked out the best charcoal artist because he didn't wish to spend more money on gray scribbles. He sacked a masterful flute player from Tianzia for playing too quietly, and instead ordered them to open a kettle drum class. He even ordered the academy to expel me. And for what? An innocent limerick? So I guess if I remember correctly, or if I understand correctly, I'm assuming limerick maybe is some kind of joke or comedy of some sort. Maybe made a joke about maybe she wasn't loud enough, or maybe she just made the wrong joke and ticked him off, I guess. I don't know. Wrong kind of humor, maybe. Would you like to go back to the academy and finish your studies? I'd like to return, but on one condition. If they threw out 3/4 of the professors who teach there now, and returned all the ones they banished, if you ask me, I'm proud to have been expelled. If my art was to Irvetti's liking, then I would have reason to be ashamed. As long as mediocre lickspittles sit at the academy, and those with real talent beg on the streets of P-tax, I will not cross the threshold of that place. Okay. So we know her feelings on that. She liked being at the academy. She didn't like being kicked out, or that they just, they don't seem to allow people the freedom to practice their craft the way that they would like to. So, freedom. Let's see. Tell me about the book you're writing. What is there to tell? You've seen some of my rough drafts already, haven't you? It's a book about you and your adventures. I'm writing the whole truth, just as it happened. Well, the whole artistic truth, air quotes. You know, no glory, no story. Yeah, so I guess she's putting her own spin on it for, the sake of entertaining the readers, perhaps, maybe to glorify a hero, but we'll ask her more about it. Why are you writing it? What's the point? Why me? When I was at the academy, Eobold the Insightful began his literature course with the question, what is a person? And he answered, a person is a storytelling animal. Our world does not consist of things, all these woods, seas, and cities. It consists of stories about those things, the stories we tell ourselves and to each other. Just think about it. Centuries will pass, and there will be no me and no you. All your subjects will be long gone. But you and I will live on in people's memories and influence their deeds, thanks to this very book. I mean, I guess it's sort of true. It's the passage of time, and I guess in a sense, if you're looking at it in an existential way, it's like your existence is basically when people utter your name, or perhaps your deeds for the last time. But I guess in book form, it can be like the last book that carries your life, your deeds, or anything about you, I guess. But again, that's very philosophical and existential way of looking at it. No offense, but your command of language is not that good. I guess we'll offer a bit of constructive criticism here. See what she thinks. The truth doesn't hurt me. Who do you think my most severe critic is? That's right, it's me. This is my first real book, and I have much yet to learn. But don't you worry. I will do your feats justice. And if I put my foot in my mouth here and there, then we can print a second edition, revised and corrected. Or perhaps an enhanced edition? Like many video games. Your book is full of inconsistencies. This is a very artistic way of doing it, but it doesn't tell it as it happened. Well, yes, I can admit that. Sometimes one has to bend a few details for the sake of dramatic effect. It's called poetic truth. I write about everything as if I saw it with my own eyes, even parts of the adventure that I wasn't around for. But I do always carefully question everyone who is with you at that time. Think of it as a general picture. In the end, you're the heroine of this book, and I am just a storyteller. Well, I mean, I guess I might appreciate it a little bit if maybe you only put in artistic detail to describe what's happening instead of changing what's happening. But that's just me. So what kind of character am I in your book? Truth be told, I was a little afraid of meeting a real hero. In books, they're all protectors of the weak and poor. But what about in real life? But you eased all my fears with 2 shakes of a tail. You're a true heroine, just like in the legends. My new fear is that, in 100 years, my readers will say that people like you never existed. But I'm writing the truth. You have an iron core. No matter what tricks fate throws in your path, you always know what's right and what's wrong. Some might say that's boring, but others will learn from you, from your strong character. Well, Alyrra is a paladin, so I guess that kind of describes her in a way. She knows right from wrong. She's, always going to be steadfast in what she believes. How do you feel about me reading your work in progress? Well, these are only drafts, but of course you're welcome to read them. Just keep in mind that even if you don't like what I write about, I won't change a single letter, so don't even ask. Of course it's a book about you, but it's my book, understood? The small writer's eyes glow rebelliously. Well, So this is one of the first times that we have a good number of choices here to kind of define the flavor of our character, and I guess how they're going to interact with our NPC friends here, or companions, our compatriots. So you can you get lots of choices like this where you can kind of decide how your character is kind of framing themselves in the picture, in the mirror. And so you get lots of things for lots of different kinds of characters here. And so there's lots of different kinds of things that you can give. You can give a sort of dickish response, or it can give a, you know what, I'd rather have, since it's writing about me, charting a lot of things about me, I'd rather have it be more about what I want it to be. Which, I mean, I don't necessarily think that this is evil. I think that lawful neutral and lawful evil should probably be switched around, because censorship seems like something that would be more of an evil action to decide if it's allowed in her lands. But again, that's just me. I think that lawful neutral and lawful evil should be switched in this case, because this seems like a very neutral kind of response, because it is about you, and you don't want someone to portray you in a way that perhaps maybe isn't entirely true, you know? Kind of the same way with like journalism in real life. You don't want someone to paint a different picture of you than what actually happened, I guess. So as long as you write the truth, I have no objection. That seems kind of like what we'd be going for here. I swear. Lindsay puts her little hand over her heart. Truth. Only truth. And just a teensy bit of imaginative exaggeration. Well, let's hope that she actually sticks to that. Okay, so let's ask her about some other things. Tell me about your friendship with Tessie the Quill. What's there to say? The books woke my urge to travel, but it was only thanks to Tessie that I managed to really get out of my village. At first, Tessie tried in vain to get rid of me. But later, when I told her I was staying in Pitax, even she shed a tear. I wonder where she is now. Okay. So, I guess Lindsay started traveling and all that, and then, you know, I guess they eventually parted ways in some way, and you know, all that stuff, so. What's the deal with the ring you always wear on your finger, the one that was made for her? Ah, this. Lindsay holds her arm for you to get a clearer view of the ring. It was a gift to me from my first teacher. It's magical, imbued by the powers of Shellen, no less. When I get myself in trouble, it transports me to a safe spot. Also known as plot armor. So please, don't be angry with me if I suddenly disappear from a fight. I'll wait for you here. Promise. Pinky promise. Okay. And then you can just tell her to get lost if you want to. I'm not exactly sure if I'm not sure if NPCs disappear forever, but I don't think I'm going to be doing this with anyone. I'll just probably have them wait around and not talk to them much, if anything. So I have to go. It's been nice talking to you, but I'm gonna have to go and take care of some things. Just don't leave without me. Of course, I could just write whatever you tell me, but if I wanted to stay cooped up in a dusty room, I'd still be sleeping through lectures at the academy. Okay, then. So we've done a good bit of talking here. Let's go and break up the monotony of dialogue and kind of get around out here and see what's happening. I guess we have our animal companions, Ember, over there. And then I guess there's a pet dog of Oleg's over there. Let's talk to him once more. Greetings! Oleg seems to be in a good mood and greets you warmly. You certainly ruffled those villains' feathers. Oh, we certainly did last time. Well, anyway, new day, new troubles. Have you seen the fog? Never seen anything like it before. The road to Restov looks like someone spilled milk and it just hung in the air. I couldn't see anything through that soup. Not even with a torch. Feels like witchcraft to me. I'd bet the Stag Lord's involved somehow. Rumors say he deals with all kinds of bad magic. Bad voodoo, I imagine. Show me your wares, Oleg. I need to get rid of some of my stuff. That thing's too good for such a good person. Oh, I thank you kindly for those compliments. So we're going to sell a lot of this stuff. I don't think we're going to need a lot of it. So we have some torches here, and we can hold on to some of them, I guess. Because, again, they deal fire damage, and it's one of the few ways to do it early on when you need it. I think the only other way for us to deal that kind of elemental damage for now is with the, I guess, the alchemist fire and the acid flasks, and those can eventually run out. And heavy crossbow, there you go. Put all these things to good use and sell, sell, sell. Don't think we're going to need this, even though it's a finesse weapon. I think it's a bit too heavy for us to carry it, or yeah, it's a bit too heavy for our character to carry at 4 pounds. We just go over our encumbrance limit for light encumbrance, so we'll just sell that. Banded mail. I mean, I think we can hold on to it in case. I don't know. We could sell it. We don't get much money for it, though. If we end up adding someone else who can wear heavy armor as far as NPCs go, we could certainly use it. Let's see what kind of armor they have. Alright, so we have half plates here. 8 base armor class, but no extra dexterity. Okay, so if we wanted to upgrade to half plate later, it could be worth it if someone has like a really low dexterity and just wears heavy armor. I guess to cut down on our weight, we'll just go ahead and sell the banded mail, I guess. And then we'll sell all this stuff. Let's see, sell all that. Maybe sell a couple of our potions here. I'm not sure if we'll need many of those. Scroll of Bless. I don't think that we're really going to need this because we have the signet ring that allow Lindsay to cast Bless. And this is just caster level 1, so yeah, I think we'll just sell this because we have the ring that allows us to cast it a few times a day. Let's see, yeah, we have this thing that tells us about some creature types. We have golden statuette, we'll sell that. I don't think we're going to need that for anything. Usually if it says a merchant would pay well for it, I think it's only for just selling value. That's basically all that the item is good for. So you just sell, sell, sell. And I don't think that having like a higher charisma affects buying and selling prices. I think that they're just set prices. If I'm understanding correctly, and if I remember correctly, it's not like other games where charisma affects like barter prices and things like that, or you have some kind of merchant or barter skill. Like the Fallout games have like a barter skill, and your charisma affects the barter skill. And then the Baldur's Gate games, also charisma affects buy and sell prices if you have like a high charisma. But here I don't think that the charisma really affects that at all, if I understand it. Alright, so is there anything that we want to buy? We'll just go ahead and get our money here, and offload all of that. So is there anything we want to buy? We already bought the full plate mail. We bought the full plate mail that Valerie has on. We did that in one of our previous episodes, before we fought the bandits, I think. They have some magic weapons here. I don't think I'm going to buy any of them. A scimitar would be interesting with my character. Well, I guess... I don't know, I thought scimitar was finesse wielding, but I guess it isn't. Sling staff, I think, is something that halflings can use, I think. But I could be wrong. But yeah, there are some exotic type weapons that he does have here. But I don't think we're going to be able to get those for now. Alright, so let's talk to him again here. So tell me about yourself. Why open a trading post in such a dangerous place? I just dislike the noise. Oleg answers reluctantly, so I guess he's kind of like our dear old friend, the Grinch. I'm from Rostov. Cities are complicated. Lots of people, and each with their place on the shelf. Bow before this one, fear this other. Don't do business with a third. But be sure to be extra nice to the fourth. And villages are a little better. Everyone likes to stick their noses into each other's business. I just wanted a place where I could be my own master, and so I ended up here. Well, I guess freedom away from the hustle and bustle of a city or a village does have its downsides, as we've seen, being harassed by bandits when you don't have any neighbors to kind of pitch in and help you out, and you know, driving them away, I guess. But I'm not saying his choice is wrong, just saying that, you know, it is, I guess, a downside, repercussions that you have to, you know, keep in mind that might happen. So it pays to have friends, I guess, is what I'm saying. Friends nearby. I need to take care of the Stag Lord. Do you know of anything that could help me find him? That's quite a task you set yourself on. The Stag Lord has a fortress somewhere in the area, but only a few chosen from the most trusted of his rabble are ever invited. The location of his fortress, or the location of the fortress, is a heavily guarded secret, and with this fog hanging around, I'd imagine it'd be even harder to find. Alright, well, I suppose you could try to follow the trail of those bandits who attacked the post before. They came from the southwest, from the side of the Thorn River. A fortress might be there, or at least some large camp of theirs where you can find information. Information is always helpful, and I'm sure we can find a way to track them down sometime. So, the southwest, then. Interesting. What else can you tell me about the Stag Lord? Not much. Not like I sat down and shared a cup of wine with the man, you know. But I think he arrived in the Stolen Lands less than a year ago, from what I've heard. But as soon as he got here, he took over everything. I wrote to Rostov, tried to warn them about the Stag Lord. Tried to warn them that the Stag Lord wasn't some typical gang leader, but they didn't listen. The rumors about him are horrible. He'd kill a person if they so much as disagree with him. He never reveals his face. Those who've seen him up close report the same thing. Ugly scars cover every inch of his skin, not covered by his clothes. So the man must have a scarred, bloody past, as it were. Alrighty. The Stag Lord's past is a mystery. He just arrived one day. He was immediately a power to be reckoned with. I guess the most surprising thing about him is that he has as many followers who admire him as he has minions who obey him out of fear. He's got some inner strength in him, or maybe an inner madness. There are many who seem to follow him because of that madness, like it was some kind of virtue. Well, that is interesting. like the opposite of a virtue. Like a paladin would probably have some kinds of virtues, like Alyrra. And the Stag Lord is kind of like the opposite of that. Yeah, we'll speak another time then, Oleg. Farewell. Alright, I need to take a moment to pause my game here for a moment so that way I can blow my nose. 1 second. Alright, so apologies for the break there. To clear the snivels out of my nose there. I was dealing with a bit of a running nose action I had to take care of, and I didn't want to blow my nose on camera and then ruin everyone's ears through their headphones if they're wearing any. So yeah, we just took care of that real quick before talking to Bakken here. Bakken puts his hands on his hips. Ha! Old Bakken still knows a few tricks to impress these blood-sucking dummies. Enough hiding in the damn bushes, I say. Well, I'm glad to hear it, that we convinced you to help us in the fight, and you helped us prevail against those evil bandits. Can I help you in any way, Bakken? So Bakken glances at you, suddenly interested. Well, since you're asking, there's a cave nearby. I used to pick berries in there, but the place has been overrun by spiders. The berries are red, look a lot like raspberries. Fangberries, I call them. I'd be real grateful if you gathered a basket of them and brought them back. Just be quick, if you do. They spoil quickly. Those spiders in the cave are mean. Here, let me give you some alchemical fire. Crafted it myself. Burn those spiders to a crisp, I say. That will teach them for taking over my Fangberry cave. I also need a bucket of moon radishes. They're a rare and mysterious plant. I don't know where to find them, but I know that kobolds gather them and value them highly. Yeah, so Pathfinder also has kobolds, it seems. It's not a huge deal, really. I'd do it myself, if I were younger. But if you're willing, I'll pay you. 3 potions for the berries, and a purse full of coins for the radishes. Hopefully some very good potions for the berries. But either way, I'd be happy to help him, with or without reward. Why do you need the fangberries and moon radishes, Bakken? You want to know, huh? Well, I'll gladly tell you after you bring some to me. Okay, then. Alright, well, I'll try and help then. Bakken glances at you hopefully. Just watch out, alright? Don't end up someone's lunch. Remind me, what do you do here? I remember what he does, but I'll just ask him again, just to tug on his information belt there. What's there to tell? I'm an herbalist. Make potions and sell them. Gather herbs, roots, berries. Bakken sighs. I live in the forest, live off the land. Since leaving Restov for these parts, I ended up a merchant here at Oleg and Svetlana's post. They let me in out of kindness, help me with a few things, and they bring me water, or firewood when it's cold, and the occasional barrel of honey. They're good people. I agree. I agree, they are quite good people. Alright, so about those tasks of yours. And you can ask them what you want to do again, and go through all that song and dance, but let's ask him what he has. So he mainly has like all the potions and magical stuff, obviously, and things of that nature. I don't think they're going to need any of them for now. Yeah, we have some different potions here. I don't think we're going to need any of them. One, the mage armor is probably the most interesting one. If you want to play someone that relies on dexterity and no armor for armor class, that could be something that's interesting. But expensive and early enough in the game to where you just don't need to be buying stuff like that. You can usually find enough things to help you out. Okay, so I think I might try and see if I can do the. I'll save my game here. Now that we've done some conversation, and we have been doing lots of dialogue so far in this episode. No real exploring or combat, but you know, there's a time and a place for some good old dialogue in a role-playing game. So nothing wrong with that. I'm going to go into the respecing mod here. I don't know if it shows up on my... I don't know if it shows up on OBS Studio or not while I'm recording this, but let's see what this can do here. So 1,000 gold. And let's go into respecing them, I suppose. Alright, so see if this works properly compared to what the official game was trying to do with us. Not sure the difference between these, but we'll just go with that one. Okay, so the respecing with this respec mod is working properly, which is good, very good. So it allows you to keep all of your previous things, I suppose. I guess I'll change the skin tone at the very least here. See, that seems appropriate. Yep. Yeah, I think that might be the one. Maybe it was this one. I don't quite remember. I don't quite remember exactly what the hair would look like from the old one, but I'm just trying to recreate it as best I can here with my respecing. Yeah, I think it was just this hair. I think that's about what she looks like there. And then go, oh, not that one, Paladin Hospitaller. So this is what the respecing should be like if you were to talk to Eight Eyes over there in the tavern. But there's a respec mod that I have installed, and I use it with the Unity Mod Manager. I use Control F10 as the hotkey for that. So let's do this. And then Aasimar Muse Touched. Ability scores, let's max out our charisma here. And have the ability scores perhaps the way more that I intended. So we have less dexterity. We kind of swap around dexterity and charisma a little bit, but we have a bit of a higher wisdom for not only the saving throws, but also for some of the skills here. They're not too relevant for our character, but having the higher charisma does make our persuasion higher, and it also improves our saving throws that much more from being a paladin. So I could lower some of these a little bit, but it would affect the skill points, I guess, and I want a bit of skill points for mobility. But you know what? Let's see if we can get away maybe with some lower intelligence And then we can pop maybe a bit of dexterity there. Or maybe a bit of wisdom instead. I don't know. And I guess persuasion as a class skill should be okay. So we'll go slightly different here with our character. I don't know, maybe if I can get more constitution here or anything to round them out. But I guess I could lower my strength a bit more, but then it would make it a bit easier or a bit harder to use certain kinds of gear, I guess. Or I can't use quite as much gear if I do it this way, but we'll see what I can do. So if I lower wisdom, I can do a bit higher on that. And I'm left with one ability point unused. It's very interesting, but I think I'm going to have to speed things along here. I think we'll just go with that, and then... yeah, I guess maybe that's the best that we'll be able to manage, is maybe this, in a way. Really low strength, but we have things kind of where they count a bit. And a little bit wise. I'd like her to be a bit wiser, but you know, you can't have it all as a character, so I think we're going to do okay here. Then we'll go with weapon finesse, Iamaday, get that going.
We cannot be defeated. I stand ready.
Give me one moment here. I need to pause the game real quick. Alright, I was just checking real quick to make sure that I'm picking the right voice here. And then I guess do Alyrra Nephodel. And then I guess, oh, the birth date. Let me go back and check the video real quick that I have of my first episode, and because I don't remember the birth date, frankly. I don't remember what I put in there, so I'm going to have to go back and check that real quick. I checked to see what my character voice was.
Hold on. I will see this through.
Okay, 1 second here. I'm going to go back and check the birth date here. Alright, so I double checked my first episode, and her birth date was Neth 30. So we'll go ahead and put her birth date down for that. And then next.
Contemplate on your mistakes.
Alright, very good. Very good indeed. And then every level of your character you can also redo again as far as your class if you want to do anything differently. We could theoretically go into Monk here, but I think we're going to go into Paladin to get the Divine Grace here for our saving throw bonus. Then we can go into Monk, because I didn't realize it at first, but Scaled Fist here is very interesting because the Scaled Fist is different than the usual Monk. Monks generally in Pathfinder and also in Dungeons and Dragons, their unarmored defense generally scales with dexterity and wisdom together. But a Scaled Fist, this sort of subclass of monk, it uses charisma instead of wisdom, which is very interesting. And it opens up lots of things as far as sort of class combinations for a character, and also the thematic feel of some of these subclass abilities that you get also can be interesting. It's more of a, yeah, as you can see from the flavor text there, they can really hit hard, intimidate, things like that. You know, think of like a brawler, a bruiser kind of person perhaps. You know, a boxer that's intimidating and they just punch you really damn hard. But the good thing about it is that they give you the unarmored defense again based on charisma. And so because of that, it actually makes it very nice if you're someone like a paladin or any spellcaster that works with charisma, like a bard perhaps, that you can go ahead and take this and you get some very good unarmored defense. And so if you have like a low strength like what my character has and you don't want to wear armor, then you can go with Scaled Fist and that'll take care of your armor without needing to use magic or magic items to do it. So that's something I didn't realize when I first created my character, that Scaled Fist actually works pretty darn well with Paladin. So that will probably be a consideration within our next few level ups. And then we already have Persuasion at a +11, so we're going to go some ranks in the mobility here, and we're going to get 3 ranks in the mobility, so that way when we fight defensively we get an extra point of AC to that when we fight defensively with our ranks in mobility. So, and then once we get mobility up to rank 3, then we're just going to focus on Persuasion the rest of the way, and be really adept at that. But yeah, with our super high charisma and then our Amuse touched bonus to Persuasion, we're not going to be hurting on our Persuasion checks, so I think we'll be fine. Alright, and so we'll just double check here and make sure that our character did things correctly in the character creation. Alright, so we lost our gear, but you know what? That's okay. It just took our gear out and gave us new stuff, I guess. So all the gear we had equipped, it basically unequipped it. So that's not too bad, honestly. You know, we did pay 1,000 gold to respec, so that's the least that the game can do, is just to give us all that. Alright, so we have medium encumbrance there with that, so we're not going to do that. We're not going to use a greatsword, we're not going to use a longbow, we're just going to go with the crossbow, short sword. And I don't know, maybe next level we'll go with some monks, so that way we get our unarmored defense going. So that way we don't have to wear any armor and we don't have to worry as much about encumbrance from that. Alright, well, I think we gotta go ahead and talk to our dear friend Oleg again here real quick. And see what's happening here. And sell some of the stuff that we got from our respec, since we're not going to be using this. This will make us too encumbered, so maybe I need to downgrade to leather armor, maybe. It's only 10 gold. Let's just get some leather armor and we'll deal with it. And then leather armor is 15 pounds, and we are still light encumbrance. So no armor check penalty, and it gives us a bit more armor class than we would have. So for now, we'll just stick with the leather armor. And then later, I think we're going to get into some monk. And monk, you know, kind of makes sense thematically too, since later they're going to be a more melee-oriented character, relying more on their reflexes and instincts to deal with people trying to hit us. You know, reflexes, skill, instincts, all the good stuff, you know. Alright, well, let's talk to Valerie here. We haven't talked to her in quite a while, but she seems kind of interesting. She's definitely a good warrior, and we saw her a bit of conversation back at Jumanji Outdoors mansion when the halls were burning. Greetings, Valerie sighs. Everything is well, I hope? I'm ready for new orders. Okay. Tell me about yourself, Valerie. What exactly would you like to know? I was born to a noble family, though I didn't remain long on the family estate. My father sent me to the Order of the Eternal Rose, but I left once I realized that I didn't match my principles. Okay. I guess the Eternal Rose is referring to Shellen, which Lindsay told us about a bit earlier. So, where are you from? What was your childhood like? I was born in Brevoy, but in fact I'd never seen much of the country. I spent my childhood on a remote estate, owned by my noble family. My father is a respectable philanthropist and benefactor of the Church of Shellen. He's also a renowned private collector and a great admirer of the arts. So I guess Valerie's dad and Lindsay would probably get along very well together. My mother saw to my education personally. From my early years I learned good manners, how to behave at the dinner table, and the proper form of words for every occasion. I also learned the difference between true nobles and low-born upstarts, and I learned how to treat each of them properly. Our home was always under the protection of several paladins of Shellen. My father's donated a handsome sum to their order. One of them, a man of venerable age with a gray beard, once let me touch his shining armor. I still remember the admiration I felt when I touched the cold, polished steel. Valerie smiles. Of all the memories of my childhood, that one is somehow the warmest one. Okay, well, it's nice to hear that maybe that kind of inspired her to take up the warrior's mantle in a way. Why were you sent to the Paladin Order of the Eternal Rose? As you can imagine, for my first days I was surrounded by crowds of servants and nannies who never stopped praising my heavenly beauty. The paladins of Shellen who used to visit our house echoed these praises. In the end, general consensus overwhelmed my father's better judgment. When I turned 6, I was brought to the Church of Shellen and told that this would be my new home. Well, that's kind of bad. I mean, not necessarily that Shellen is bad, but rather that the decision was maybe not so wise. I mean, she's 6 years old. She's a kid. Don't pity me, though, I beg of you. Many who hear this story immediately assume that my parents were cruel and had no love for their child. Valerie's eyes become stern. My parents had respect for me. They taught me something that has supported me all of my life, a sense of self-esteem. Well, while I certainly disagree with you, I mean, I understand that, your parents didn't do it out of malice, of course, but, again, 6 years old, it's kind of, I don't know, it kind of has some parallels to, the Jedi Order in Star Wars, where usually, for what I understand of the expanded universe and some of the movie talk, they don't want to train Jedis when they get too old, because then they've already formed a lot of things about themselves, and it's much harder to adjust to the Jedi way. And so I guess maybe here there's some parallels to starting them young on a certain path to paladinhood or something similar, instead of waiting until they're older. Besides, they didn't abandon me. Once every 6 months, they would come and visit me at the Order of the Eternal Rose. We had some tea and then had an hour to walk around the garden. Then they would take their leave, as etiquette demanded. So what did they teach you in the Order? A variety of things. Some of them appealed to me, others I simply couldn't accept. I enjoyed the physical activities and swordsmanship. but the arts, calligraphy, painting, poetry, and so many other ways to waste one's time. No, I hardly call some things a waste of time. It just depends on perspective, I guess. Valerie sighs. I guess that deep in my heart, I always knew I'd never be a true paladin of Shellen. Wielding a sword always felt more natural to me than handling a paintbrush. Well, I mean, you don't have to be a painter to be a paladin. There's a difference between enjoying doing it and appreciating it, I guess. But I guess, whatever floats your boat. Why did you leave the Order? Because of my heavenly beauty, Valerie winces in contempt. According to Shellen's laws, all art is sacred, whatever form it takes. Severe punishment awaits those who dare harm a painting, sculpture, or poem, no matter how worthless the drivel might be. My looks always attracted unwanted attention from the pilgrims and acolytes at the temple. I received my first poem dedicated to me when I was 9. The author was some wealthy geezer. Valerie's lips thin in contempt. And that was only the beginning. That does seem kind of odd. Only 9 years old and people are already writing about her beauty, but I'm not going to get into that. It just seems kind of odd to me. Sculptures, pictures, poems. I was drowning in them. My admirers mobbed me, and I had to respectfully accept all their garbage. The clerics of the temple were magnanimous, for my suitors made generous offerings to the church. But one time I just snapped. Barely suppressed anger glitters across Valerie's eyes. Some wealthy idiot has dedicated an extremely untalented poem to me. And then he had the nerve to read it right to my face, holding my sleeve. The hour was late, and I was on my way to get some rest after a boring lesson on rhymes. I lost control and tore the poem apart right in front of him. Valerie raises her head proudly. The paladins wanted to impose some punishment upon me. I don't remember which one exactly. They wanted me to repent. Instead, I just gathered my things and left. So yeah, it makes sense that maybe when someone's older, that someone to express, their feelings of affection or their, the butterflies, the crush that they have on someone, that they might express it in their own way. Understandably, someone might not be interested in that kind of thing, and they're annoyed by it, as might be the case with attractive women. But on the other hand, you got to give it to a man to put his heart out there, and to do so with the possibility of rejection, which is also something that a lot of people have to deal with. So, but yeah, it does seem odd that everything happened at such a young age, started so quickly, and so it really turned her off to the idea of being at least a paladin of Shellen. Maybe I Am a Day would have been a lot better for her, sort of like a paladin of the sword, perhaps. What did you do after you left the Order? I set off for Restov. Valerie shrugs. I wanted to get as far away as possible from Shellen and the destiny everyone seemed so ready to force upon me. Besides, the School of Swordsmanship in Restov has quite a decent reputation. Honestly, I was hoping for an opportunity to learn from the famous Aldori masters. So I guess it would be interesting if the prestige class is like the Aldori Sword Lord prestige class that you can take. Could be something that you could potentially just get at level 1, but because it would be interesting for Valerie to be something kind of like that. Eventually, it became clear that their technique wasn't a good fit for me. They teach to avoid impact, whereas I prefer to raise my shield. So I guess that's the reason why it probably wouldn't happen with Valerie, even though she learned from them, I guess. So I guess that would be a path for someone else to take. But my abilities and skills, which I'd learned at the Order of the Eternal Rose, were enough to make the Sword Lords take an interest in me. They offered me a chance to join the mercenaries who served the Sword Lords, and I accepted. Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, I'll just take notice, and I bet your beauty inspired many people in the Order. Valerie's gaze suddenly becomes cold. And here I'd hoped to avoid the question. And she exhales loudly. Well, let's get this over with, once and for all. You should understand that I am perfectly aware that most races, orders, and genders find me physically attractive. It's beyond my power to change that. But I've never given a potential admirer any reason to start a conversation with me. But that doesn't stop them. After leaving the Order, I took a dagger and cut off the long hair they used to praise. Well, I guess that's why her hair is short. Well, now I get letters praising the beauty of my eyes. I mean, as a man, yeah, I mean, you're beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people will say what they want to say, and you can keep rejecting them and let be, you know. It was because of my appearance that I ended up in the Order of the Eternal Rose, though I never wanted to be a paladin. It was because of my beauty that an infinite number of suitors have pursued me, all of them confusing simple politeness with hints of affection. Valerie clenches her fists. But do you know what I really want? I want people to stop treating me like a piece of art. I want them to notice that I am a person, that I'm capable of something more than smiling for paintings, where I sit wearing a lacy satin dress, holding a basket of peaches in my lap. Is that too much to ask? The last question comes out in a shout, though Valerie doesn't seem to realize it. Is that too much to ask? Maybe that's a more appropriate sounding way to put it. And we have a few choices here. None of them are really alignment related, but so yeah, each of these have their merits to them. Because, like, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, people feel what they feel. They can't exactly control it in some ways. On the other hand, you can offer understanding that, you know, that you're a good friend. You appreciate her honesty with the events of her past and how people feel about her. And then there's another one where it's like, whoa, 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 it's just asking you about, you know, asking you about the Order and all the, you know, your beauty and everything like that. I mean, you know, I'm a fellow lady, just asking a question, you know. Oh, so it'll just be like, whoa, 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 why all the shouting? It was just a simple question. What's become of your precious self-control that you tout? Valerie breathes heavily for a moment, gasping awkwardly. As the meaning of your words finally become clear to her, she regains control over herself. I humbly beg your pardon, she says calmly. That will never happen again. I mean, let's hope it doesn't. I mean, it's... You know, I have a lot of patience, but there's no reason to raise your voice. I was just asking questions, you know? Alright, so let's change the subject. You have my attention. And she bows politely. So you're an atheist, then? You don't worship any deity? Right. I need no guidance from above. I have my own good conscience and my leader's orders to live by. I guess we can ask her about Shellen and about her paladins, I guess, to annoy her some more, but I guess we'll just learn more about them, I suppose. Kind of odd that someone in a setting like this, you know, they would be an atheist, or that it's not like they don't know that the gods exist. It's more that they just don't choose to worship them. They think that they don't need the the power, the benevolence of the gods, perhaps. Shellen is a goddess of love, beauty, and art. Her paladins are something like armored artists. That's how they like to think of themselves, at least. Valerie tries to contain her feelings, but her inner contempt bursts forth. They are fanatical defenders of worthless and artistic paintings and meaningless opuses, if you care to know my opinion. You speak of Shellen with such contempt. What did the goddess of beauty do to earn your anger? She's been trying to ruin my life, Valerie snorts. Shellen, the goddess of everything useless that ever existed in this life. All the beauty in the world, all the art, all the soulful sights in the moonlight. They'll never feed a single family. And I beg you to restrain yourself from offering your own opinion. Trust me, I've heard everything you can tell me, more than once. Nothing and nobody can change my mind. Valerie looks at you with suspicion. As for Shellen, she's the goddess of idlers. I almost joined her preposterous entourage. I'm just glad I was smart enough to denounce her while I still could. Funny that it should come from a fictional character, because without things like fiction, poems, beauty, art, Valerie would not even exist. Some kind of weird paradox where she got her wish, she as a character would not even exist, I suppose. So, but as a character, she's still entitled to her opinion despite the sort of fourth wall breaking paradox there. But let's go with what do paladins of Shellen usually do? They wander around seeking the next pile of garbage, and when they find it, they call it an immortal piece of art and admire it until they're blue in the face. You might not believe this, but the paladins of Shellen aren't allowed to slay their enemies if they beg for mercy. Can you guess why? Because a bandit, rapist, or murderer who has been put to the sword will never be able to create something beautiful in the future. So a paladin overpowers her enemy in battle, then inspires him to create a masterpiece. Valerie's face reflects an extreme disgust. It might sound hilarious if it weren't true. Plus, all of Shellen's followers are obliged to practice some sort of art in his or her free time. Every single day, no matter what else is going on, even if you're feeling sick, hungry, or sleepy. Otherwise, according to their clerics, you lose your connection with your goddess. A preposterous notion, wouldn't you agree? Well, I understand that not every piece of art is good, or even decent, but surely there must be at least a few great works among them. Is that what you think? Valerie curves an eyebrow, mocking amazement. Many share that delusion. I was deluded too, for a while. Now I consider all works of art useless. People create this garbage because they have nothing better to do. The peasant doesn't paint a picture, he plows the earth to feed his family. The soldier has no time for sculpture, he must defend his homeland. But idlers and slackers have plenty of time to waste. So they smear canvases with paint and imagine they'd done something worthy and valuable. Valerie shakes her head in disapproval. Well, again, a bit of a paradox because, without art, Valerie's portrait wouldn't exist. The story of this game wouldn't exist. She as a character wouldn't exist. And in some ways, if you think about it, in previous generations and eras in real life, art, portraits, and paintings were the only ways to archive certain things. And is the only way to be able to, again, tell stories in some ways. Like if you wanted to know what someone might have looked like, you would be reliant on a painting or a drawing, and some other such things like that, or perhaps sculpture in some cases, and in some cases you might also have, like paintings on, walls and things of that nature. So it's like art, poems, stories, things like that. They're very good archival devices, even though Valerie thinks that they're garbage. I think that she was turned off by people who maybe took things a bit too far in their beliefs, and so now she's just turned off to them entirely, you know. But again, maybe my opinion and maybe just Alyrra's opinion, since she is a paladin, just of a different deity. You said that every paladin must practice some kind of art. What kind of art did you pursue? That. I used to embroider, and I still do from time to time. A treacherous blush covers Valerie's cheeks. It's nothing, I assure you. Just a simple task to keep my hands busy and keep the gloomy thoughts at bay. Nothing special, so she says. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I mean, it's certainly something nice to do in spare time. You could make something useful, maybe in Valerie's eyes. But, let's talk about something else. You know, you don't have to follow etiquette and maintain good manners while speaking with me if you don't want to. I'm aware of that, Valerie sighs. But I'm sure you understand that I am what I am. That's how I was brought up. First by my parents, and then by my mentors in the Order. Besides, I was born to a noble family. Valerie raises her chin proudly. So I rather enjoy the idea that my manner of speech differs a bit from the common language of the peasantry. You can't just imagine how many social climbers have bowed politely the moment I opened my mouth. I guess you have plenty of suitors. I guess there's quite a few bits of dialogue on this subject. I think that if you're a male character, these dialogues maybe could go a bit differently and progress differently, but there certainly are lots of dialogues about her beauty and about people, you know, reaching their hearts out to her, I guess. Valerie rolls her eyes once again. Sadly, you're right to suppose that. Even here, in these remote lands, one can find offspring of many noble houses, and all of them consider it their duty to kneel before me, begging me to walk with them in the garden. Valerie's voice overflows with contempt. If words were poison, you'd be dying a horrible death. Oh, and don't forget about the village oafs. They understand the concept of nobility perfectly well, so they realize they'll be punished if they dare make any advance towards me. So they prefer to stare from a distance, drooling. And believe me, I can very well imagine what they discuss in the taverns. Valerie shivers and jerks her shoulders, as if trying to shed the sticky, disgusting stares. I mean, I'm not going to say that that isn't true, but there are men out there that don't have ill intent, that, you know, maybe they just like you for who you are, not just for the way that you look, you know? It's like, it reminds me of that old meme picture where it's like, men only want one thing, and it's disgusting. And, like, yeah, like, that's just kind of, like, she's making a big deal about how everyone only cares about her looks, but she seems to be the one that's focusing a lot on her looks. So, like, yeah. Like, there are people out there that do care about you for more than your looks, so... You know, you really are quite beautiful, you know. You're a reliable friend and a worthy ally, but it would be a crime to ignore your beauty. Valerie gives you a stony look. I sincerely hope your words carry nothing more than mere politeness. So I think that some of these are meant to carry a more romantic note, to say things to her the way that other suitors have told her in the past. Since we're a woman, we're not really going to go down that path and do that kind of thing, but well, I mean, yeah, that's what I meant, just simple politeness and just, you know, speaking it how I see it, you know? That is good, Valerie nods. In that case, I thank you for the compliment and would ask that you never bring up the subject again. See, it's just kind of weird. She's so touchy about the concept of, like, her looks and whatever, and she focuses so much on it, like, on the negative. So it's just kind of weird for someone that, you know, seems interesting, but yet, you know, she gets kind of touchy about certain things for some reason, you know? But, yeah. You're so eager to follow my orders. Why? What do you mean, why? Valerie looks at you in bewilderment. I follow your orders. I've joined your campaign because I have faith in you. I believe your intention is to be noble, though things may not always turn out as you planned. Well, I guess a paladin, we are fairly noble in that sense. You are my commander. Your orders are law. It's my duty to follow them. Valerie hesitates for a moment. Well, so long as you don't order me to do something that's absolutely dishonorable. But that would never happen, I hope. And I also hope that would never happen, because then I'd be having to punch myself in the face as a paladin. So, I do wonder, I guess on a side note, I wonder if she would react differently to you if you were a paladin of Shellen. Because I think you can actually pick Shellen as a deity when you're at character creation. So I don't know if her dialogues would be slightly different if you were a paladin of Shellen and refer to you in certain ways. And then they can tell her to, you know, kick up some dust and get out of here, but we're not going to do that, obviously. And alright, thank you for the conversation. We'll talk more later. As you wish. Valerie nods with dignity. Alright, so we've learned a bit more about Valerie. A bit more conversation and some interesting subjects came up with her, I guess, compared to Lindsay, where she just stated more of the obvious. We already knew she was a bard. She was writing a book she told us about early on. And so we just learned a bit more about her, I suppose. But yeah, some interesting things with Valerie. She's an atheist and was once brought up in the teachings of Shellen paladins, and then eventually just didn't like them and didn't fit in with them. But all the same, she's a very polite person because she was raised with manners. And then I guess we'll talk to Amiri, which I don't know if she'll have as much to say as a barbarian. But we'll interrupt her training here and talk to her a bit. We're gonna talk? Amiri utters a weary sigh. Alright, spill it. I'm listening. So yeah, she's not as much for words as Lindsay or Valerie, but we can still talk to her about a few things. We're just talking, you know? I mean, you don't like it? You don't like having a good conversation? Amiri shrugs several times, perhaps flexing her muscles, or maybe just filling in the silence. Dunno. She admits at last. Depends what we're going to talk about. If it's about monsters or swords or scars, I approve. That's good. I guess you can semi-see these scars in her portrait, and I guess battle scars that she wears proudly. And if you're going to ask questions, like why, and what for, and how, screw this. Amiri looks you over slowly, head to toe. Or do you got even harder ones? I guess tell me about yourself. We'll see what we can get out of her. A simple question seems to puzzle Amiri. She scratches her head, then starts counting on her fingers. First, I'm a barbarian. I'm strong. I grew up in the realms of the Mammoth Lords. I left my tribe, the Six Bears. Amiri looks thoughtfully at her 4 bent fingers and shrugs. And I like tights. I totally goofed there. Oh man, I'm an idiot. And I like fights. Tights would have been... never mind. She concludes, bending her thumb, and I'm going to conclude that by not bringing up tights again, with the Freudian slip that I just made. I guess you had a lot of training to become as strong as you are. I guess you had to do a lot of training to become as strong as you are. Training? Ha ha ha! No one freaking trained me. The boys of the Six Bears got the training. All I could do was watch. Amiri's eyes gleam with anger. And you know what? They were still crap even after all that training, because I kicked their butts hard. Kinda weird how they use words like, no one freaking trained me, and I kicked their butts hard, when usually it'd be like, no one fucking trained me, I kicked their butts hard. I kicked their asses hard, I say. Like, I guess the developers, they didn't want to get a rated R rating, I guess. Like, even though they talk about orgies and dialogue and things like that, bloody murder, orgies, rape, all these other topics, and they can't throw in a few curse words here and there, like fucking and asses and whatever. But anyway, moving on. Animals, bandits, monsters. Oh, thought they were stronger than me. Idiots! Amiri spits on the ground. Because if you start a fight, you think you can win. You think you're stronger than your enemy? Amiri raises her chin proudly. I defeated them all. See all the scars on my face? Interesting indeed. Taking a quick swig of my orange juice there to kind of help me out. Alright. So, why did you leave your tribe then? Amiri flushes. Because they were assholes. All of them. So I guess they're not afraid of semi-curse words then. I guess she just like using the word butt instead of ass sometimes. Men were cowards and scoundrels, and women were scared like sheep. Amiri rolls her bloodshot eyes in fury. Men there think no girl can be a fighter, because they are weak. They are afraid a woman can beat them. And females just nod. Goes who hides, cook meat, watch kids. That's what they always say. But I'm a warrior, damn it! I won't cook hides and watch meat. Amiri is already shouting, her fists clenched tightly. So I guess Amiri and Valerie alike have a bone to pick with their origins, or where they came from, I guess. I told them so. I went hunting with men, and what did I get? Still the same. You are a woman, you stay home. Even gave me a nickname, the Soft Chieftain. Like a warrior woman was a funny joke. Damn. I even went to hunt those shit-faced frost giants. And there. So, she's not afraid to curse, but then in the previous conversation where cursing would have been appropriate, she avoids it. Okay, well, maybe they just, maybe they have a curse word limit. I don't know. Amiri suddenly stops, breathing heavily, sweat beading on her forehead. After a moment, Amiri waves her hand awkwardly and forces herself to grin. So I left. Cowards, scoundrels, and sissies they were. That's why. Well, I highly doubt that a clan of barbarians were necessarily weak. I doubt the validity of that statement, but, you know, maybe, again, she has a bone to pick, and, you know, there's some truth brittled in her recollection of the events, maybe. So what's it like to be a barbarian in the Six Bears tribe? Ha! Our people are big and strong. We can cut a monster in half with one swing. We can walk 3 days and nights with no rest. We can heat a whole fried oryx. I mean, she was just... I don't know, she was calling the men cowardly and all this and that. And now she's talking about how our people are all big and strong. There's just... Again, I feel like we're not getting the whole story here with what she's telling us, but, you know, maybe we'll have a chance to learn more about it later. What does the realm of the Mammoth Lords look like? Huge and freezing. No place for weaklings. Amiri narrows her eyes as if evaluating your ability to survive her homeland. Tribes hunt oryx herds to survive. Oryx are fast, so tribe follows herd for days, just to not die of hunger. If you are weak, you stay behind and die in the snow. Tribe cannot stop. Kind of odd that she comes from a very cold climate, and yet her portrait has her bearing a lot of skin that would probably make it very, very cold for her, because, I mean, you can't escape frostbite, you can't escape all those, you can't escape being cold, you know, the elements are going to do their number one way or the other, so kind of odd. I don't know, maybe that's just because she's here in a more warmer climate that she's, doffed all the hide armor that she would normally wear in the Six Bears tribe when she was there. Also, there are giants and mammoths. Sometimes demons come too. And the mastodons. And the saber-toothed tigers. Miri grins. You would survive, I think, for a few days. Ha ha! Oh, well, you're quite a good fighter, you know. Amiri jerks her head up. Quite good, huh? Compared to who? If I was a crappy male, I'd fight better. Is that what you'd say? She glares at you. Her eyes narrow. Or do you say I could be better? Like, go get some training, Amiri. Am I right? Well, you're very good in the fight. You're an excellent warrior. I've just given you a compliment, that's all. For several more seconds, Amiri continues to glare at your face with suspicion. Then, all of a sudden, she mellows. True, I fight good. That's what I do best. Well, you're rather rude, you know. You bet! So Amiri's wearing this with pride. Amiri grins, then suddenly frowns. I'm a fighter, big and strong. Everyone's afraid of me. I can't play the softy. Who would ever fear me then? The contemplative expression disappears from Amiri's face, replaced by a dreamy grin. I enjoy being feared. When I pass by and all the sissies almost faint. Knees trembling. Teeth chattering. Shit dripping down their pants. Amiri falls silent, fascinated with the picture her imagination has created. They're gonna shit their barbarian pants. At least I imagine that's what she's thinking. And then she's imagining the imagery of them just shitting their barbarian pants. Alright, well, thanks for telling me all that. Let's talk about something else. So I guess we're going to kind of dig in deeper, I guess, to why she left her tribe. And what's the story about the frost giants that you're talking about? I told you already. They were assholes. They treat women like sheep, not fighters. Amiri frowns. As for the giants, I'll tell you later. Someday. Maybe. Perhaps. Possibly. Yeah, that's a formidable sword. But it's not just a simple weapon, is it? You bet it's not simple. Check out how big it is. She proudly raises the blade, and you notice that, even though Amiri is extremely strong, she still has difficulty wielding such a large sword. I mean, the blade is about as wide... No, actually, it's like even wider than her head. This sword belonged to a real bastard frost giant. I killed the beast and took this looker for myself. Fits me perfect, my damned trophy. Amiri's eyes slash with menace as if she's challenging some invisible enemy to try taking away her trophy. Yeah, I doubt that. I doubt that she just killed a frost giant, considering that in the opening scene, in the opening area of the game, we saw a frost giant in action, and they could basically walk over people and just totally murder and devour them. And yeah, so I doubt that she just went, killed a frost giant, and everything was all chipper. So, well, thanks for talking. We'll talk again later. Talking. When will we do some monster killing instead? Amiri sighs and turns away. Well, true enough, we have been doing lots of talking this episode and no fighting or monster killing, and so we'll have to get to some of that a little bit later. Alright, so I think that'll be enough for this episode. This is a bit more of like what you would call a role-playing session. We've taken a lot of time. We've learned more about our companions and done a bit of bartering. We respect our character to be maybe, perhaps a bit more appropriate to what maybe to what I originally intended, I guess. So I kind of, second thoughts, decided to kind of make them a bit more Paladin-ish, maybe a bit more what I was thinking for the character originally, and just didn't get around to doing, I guess. And overall, just kind of doing my thing here, and I'll go ahead and save the game. So I think for that, I will call it an episode, and then next session, we're going to get to some more, monster killing, monster slaying perhaps, dealing with bandits, I presume, from the Stag Lord, finding out what's going on here in the Stolen Lands, and we'll go ahead and help out Svetlana and Balkan with the things that they've tasked us to do. And now that we've gotten to know more about our companions, we can get more to the fighting and the action and the glory, and surely Lindsay will have more to write about with her book as we go on. Anyway, I thank everyone for joining me here today for this sort of more role-playing, dialogue-heavy session. And hopefully next time we'll be able to see what's going on with the action-oriented sessions. Anyway, thank you, and hope you all have a great day. And everyone, take care.